So kind of an interesting thing happened yesterday. I decided a couple days ago to post the Duster up for sale, actually, and try and build some funds up to get some more projects. And had somebody come yesterday to take a look at it. Guy drove all the way from Savannah, Georgia to come see it. Drove it, liked it, we talked about it for a while, and then he saw the Bronco sitting in the driveway. And he was like, oh man, he's like, I actually really like the Bronco. Would you sell that to me instead? And I told him for the right price, everything's for sale, which is true. And he offered me a good price for it. I thought it was very fair. Paid for all the repairs I'd done to it, gave me a little something for my efforts. So he drove that home yesterday, even though I hadn't actually tried to sell it. So good news is we got some extra funds. Bad news is we sold the Bronco, which was supposed to be Kayla's little toy, so she didn't love that too much. And it's probably not going to be the last time we have a Bronco that we're tinkering on, because it was a fun little truck, and maybe we try and find a slightly different flavor of Bronco here to replace that as the next project. But since that thing is now gone, driveway's a little more cleared out, we're still going to be on the pursuit of finding a buyer for the Duster, I believe, and offload that, which just leaves this guy. So we last left off, we had gotten it bled on the brakes, got the new master cylinder in, and we're pretty much ready to just get this carb tuned and then take it on a test drive. So we're going to do that today. I picked up 5 gallons of fuel, non-ethanol from the gas station. We're going to dump that in the tank, and then try and fire this thing up and try and do some base adjustments on the carb, get it tuned, and then take it around the block. So the plan is going to be get it running, get it going today, test drive it, and then decide if we want to keep it, put some more money into it, make this kind of the pseudo Bronco replacement as the fun toy, or if we sell this too and further contribute to the funds to get a little bit nicer project down the line here. So today will be really telling, so let's dive into it and see what happens. First things first, we got to check the vacuum lines, make sure we don't have anything that's potential fail point. Make sure we don't have anything that's going to cause vacuum leaks. I don't see anything too strikingly obvious. EGR. That should be fine. There is a pretty big nipple on the back that is totally rotten. That's not going to be doing any kind of sealing, so we'll see if we have another one of these caps. Other than that, we should be good. See if we can replace that and move on. This one may fit, so we're going to try this. Yep, boom. All right. So we got got that squared away. All right, and we may actually even use that to test our vacuum as we tune it, but that'll plug it off after we're done. So we need to grab back gauge, some hose, get that thing plopped on. Looks like I've got an adjustment here on this side. Okay, so they're directly opposite each other on this Holly. Easy to get to, so that should be no problem. That plug we had just found that port we just found the plug for, I just took back off, stuck our vac gauge on that because it fits great, and that should be full-time non-ported vacuum. First thing I'm going to check too once we get it fired up is whether or not the distributor will pull the plug over there, because I don't want to be this close to this fan blade, but we'll make sure that is not on ported vacuum either. I like to have those just full-time vacuum. It's easier to set them up. Let's see, timing hold downs right there. So we'll set the carb first. I'll shut it down, I'll loosen this, we'll get our timing light, we'll dial the timing in, and then we'll redo our carb adjustments. But let's get a baseline first, so we'll grab a tiny screwdriver, fire this thing up, and tootle away. Because we are going to be precariously close to this open fan blade, I'm going to give it some little safety tips here. We'll pretty it up later. I just want to make sure I don't lose a finger, you know? This can is almost out. Can we squeeze enough out to get all these blades? Good enough. All right. Let's fire her off. Try and dial it in. Almost. No choke on it either. So we are at about 16 inches of mercury right now, but we are idled way high. There's no choke, so I just have the idle turned up. The sticky gas pedal, which we need to spray some WD-40 on when we're done. One and a half, two, half, 1, 1.5. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, half, 1, 1.5. So we're set at 1.5 turns each side, which is a good base setting. We're going to let her warm up for a few minutes, and then we'll actually start dialing in our vacuum and setting the actual idle speed. While that's doing its thing, warming up, let's go ahead and check, see if the distributor's getting full-time vacuum. And I can see my fan good, which is nice. So, this line, right here. Oh yeah. Full-time vacuum. We'll probably end up blanking off that EGR. I might end up blanking off this too, which is the breather that goes straight back into the intake. I don't really want to gunk up my intake if I can help it. I'll probably end up doing away with that, just putting a filter on top. This one's just venting the atmosphere. Not really doing anything anyway though. Quarters look good. I think the carb's actually pretty clean. Might spray a little bit of carb cleaner in it anyway, just to make good and sure. Got a little spray Berryman's B12. We're gonna hit it with some of that. Lube up that sticky throttle pedal a little bit. Tighten that spring a little. There we go. Now we need to set our base idle. Let's see how that RPM does when you put some load on it in dry. All right, so we're hovering right around 15 inches of mercury is our sweet spot. 1 1/4 turns out on the carb adjustment set screws. Looking pretty good. Idle, I think, is about right in the RPM range. The intermittent rattling you're hearing is actually the PCV valve, if you can hear it. I'll replace it at some point, but it's not bad. It's working. If it's jiggling and rattling, it's working. It just the engine's got a little bit of blow by when it's warmed up, so it's causing it to oscillate a little bit. But she's running idle and smooth. The back gauge is staying very consistent, right on 15 inches mercury. So we're gonna shut it down, loosen the set screw, and well, first we'll check the timing marks, figure out our base idle, and then we'll make adjustments. So somebody's been playing with her before and marked the timing stuff for us. Let's show you. So zoom you in a little bit, see if you can make it out. But that's before top dead center. That's 30, 20, and I believe that would be 10. It's real hard to see. We'll have to clean this up a little more. That's 10 degrees after top dead center. So it looks like they have it marked. If that's 10, they have it marked at 0, which is probably, I can look it up, but I believe that's probably the stock spec for timing on this engine. We don't want stock. We're going to advance it a little bit, give us a little more pep. No smog pump or anything on this, so we should be able to give it some advance. So we're going to try and clean this up. We'll leave his mark, but we're also going to remark it at 10, which if I can get there, that's where I'd like to live, is somewhere between 8 and 10 degrees advanced. So we'll grab our whiteout, make a mark, and check this thing. So my phone keeps shutting off, literally because it's getting too hot. That's how you know it's hot outside. So the camera keeps cutting out. So hopefully you've been following along. Let's see, got our whiteout. There's our 10 degrees mark. That's where we want. Somewhere right in there, ideally. That's probably where it should be. Once we fire it up, we'll verify. It's a little precarious, but I got you up here as best I can. That timing mark is way up in right here. So it's going to be really hard for you guys to see that. So you'll probably just have to take my word for it, is what I'm thinking. But it's there. I can see it. Let's get our gun set up and see what we get. Something interesting I just learned. This thing is set up with the 302 high output, basically the Mustang engine firing order, and it's running properly, which makes me think this is a 302 high output from a 79 probably Mustang instead of from a truck. I knew it was not the original engine. You could tell it was swapped in, but didn't know it was the HO. That's kind of cool. But all signs are pointing to it. The fact that it's running smooth with that wrong firing, well, not wrong firing order, with the non-standard firing order. But so we're going to leave it set up the way it is. He's got the number 1 on the cap going to the number 5, so clearly he wasn't quite sure which was which, but that's okay. Yeah, he's got them all labeled wrong, but we're going to ignore that, and we are going to go ahead and fire it up, check timing, and see what we get. All right, fire in the hole. I'm gonna see if I can get you guys in here to see this. Zoom it in. All right, we had to fight with it a little bit. I had to get my vice grips locked onto the base of the distributor to get it to crack loose because it was frozen on there. Even with the hold down bolt all the way loose, it just wouldn't budge. But we got it broken loose. Now we're going to fire it back up, check, and make some adjustments and see if this thing doesn't smooth out. Because it looks to me, and I don't know if you could see it in the footage I tried to get, it looks to me like it's, let's see, the marks are on this side, which means it's extremely, that would make it extremely advanced, way advanced. It's odd, the 0 marker that he had marked is actually on the other side of the timing indicator than where it should be, which makes me think that maybe he just set it wrong to begin with. Which is possible since he had the wires labeled wrong on the cap anyway. But what we're going to do is fire it up, check it. I put marks on it so I can put it back to where it was in case we get off. With the vacuum advance unplug, it's not happy. So that looks right on the money on my mark now. So we're going to plug the vacuum advance back in and see what that does. First we'll see what it does just at the higher idle. About the same, she's hanging in there about 10 degrees advanced. That's with the vacuum advance plugged in. Unchanged. Seems happy there. Vacuum advance plugged in at base idle. It's not climbing much. It's actually staying right about the same, right about 10 degrees. Once you load it up, it's going to about, probably looks like a little over, maybe a little bit over 30 degrees, which is probably like 35 total degrees. Shut it down, lock that distributor down, and recheck. All right, we're locked it down. Let's give it the old refire test. Right up, pretty happy. He seems to like that. Fires right back up immediately, which is good. I'm going to say yes to that. Now, let's get that out of the way. Let's double check our setup on the carb to make sure our pretty substantial change of about 5 degrees in timing, actually 10 degrees in timing. Let's see if that affected our base setup on the carb at all. Half, 1, 14.5 inches mercury. Idle RPM might be a little high. Let's put it near for the motor. Seems very happy. Let's clean up and let's road trip it. All right, we're going to attempt to take this thing on a small test run here, see how she does. Got everything put back together, cleaned up. All we can do is give her a run for the money now. My suspicion is that it will run great. I think the front brakes are going to be the question. Will these old calipers that have been in the same position for that long actually free up and give us some free run? So let's find out. Right to life, that's good. She's still warmed up. Seatbelt's very nice. We'll have to replace that at some point soon. Not a lot of the brake pedal's real soft, which means probably the vacuum booster has failed, but we'll ignore that for now. Yeah, those front brakes are definitely on right now, but we'll go around the block a little, see if they come around. Actually, it's not decelerating super quick when I let off the gas, so I'm thinking those calipers might be loosening. They're still grabbing a little because I can actually feel the rotor's pulsing. Brakes do work. did it. Let's get you guys back up. She is loud. Muffler is in the near future. Got some get up. Kick down linkage works. And stop right here while we've gone in a nice straight line for a while, and I just want to see how the toe looks on the front wheels. So it's not terrible, but it's definitely got some pretty serious camber issues going on. Toe looks good, camber's way off. But she's running good, she's on the road. It goes, it stops. We're getting somewhere. Speedo's working. Alternator shows charging. Oil pressure gauge is not working. The fuel gauge says empty, but it could actually be almost empty. So, parting thoughts. Front calipers definitely dragging. I'm just going to replace them both. That's why it shakes so much when you're going down the road at low speeds, and when you start to slow down and let off the brake, you can actually feel it, like the truck like pulses once you let off the brake, because the rotors are slightly warped, I think, and it's just touching. It should have a lot more pickup than it does, and I'm pretty sure that's 99% of the reason why. So that needs to be corrected. That's easy enough. The steering wheel, even though I took it off and I bolted it back up tight because it was loose, but it's way crooked, which drives me nuts. It's turned at like, I don't know, probably 10 o'clock, and that drives me insane. But this is a horrible, ugly, broken covered steering wheel anyway, so when it comes off, it'll probably be to put a new one on, or at least I'll paint the exposed metal part black, do something, because it looks hideous. So that's on the list. Front brakes are on the list. And then we really got to clean up this interior, and it needs a muffler like nobody's business. But the thing runs great. It fires right up. Seems really happy. Shuts down no problem. I mean, she's good. That timing might be slightly advanced. You can hear that little grumble when it tries to start, but not bad. It might be a degree or so over what it would be really happy with, but great pickup. Actually, with an exhaust on this thing, it would sound and run terrific. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I also realized the timing order is not for a standard 302, which means one of two things. It's either a 351 Windsor, which would be cool, or it's a 302 high output out of a 79 or later Mustang, which also would be cool. Either way, it's not a bone stock 302, which means we get a little bit more horsepower. So that's pretty neat. I'll have to try and find a casting number or something on it, see if I can figure out what it actually is. But that's a project for another day, along with, like I said, all of the cleaning on the interior and the brakes and everything else. So we've got more to do, but it's come a long way, and this thing is officially technically drivable. With those brakes, it's not the most fun to drive yet, but that'll be the next thing we do. They're pretty cheap, like 60 bucks a pop for those calipers, and then we're in business. So pretty cool. I guess we'll see you next time when we do more stuff.